Don't judge me. I just wish he knew.
Composed of what is essentially a bunch of outcasts, the League of Villains is, to say the least, an interesting bunch. Beyond being outcasts, the group really only has one common trait: they all wish to do as they please. That ultimate freedom for them is everything. In the beginning, we hardly knew anything about these guys, and from the beginning of the series to today, the group has shrunk in size. However, with the recent highly anticipated War Arc's endless reveals, we finally filled in the final pieces in this group's mysterious backstory. In this video, we'll be going over the origin of every League of Villains member. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on to never miss an upload. We upload almost daily and would love to have you join in on our discussions. And if you'd like to extend the discussion beyond YouTube, check out our various social media accounts where you can further interact with us. With that said, let's get into it. We have a lot to cover. For starters, we have the leader, Shigaraki Tomura, born Tenko Shimura, a character inspired by Horikoshi's first one-shot series. Shigaraki Tomura is the son of Shimura Nana's child, who was, at least in his eyes, abandoned by his mother. Because his father was a successful businessman, Shigaraki was born into wealth. The origin of Shigaraki begins at the age of 5, a year older than that of most children when they develop their quirks, and for this reason, he was believed to be quirkless. Despite this, Shigaraki wanted to be a hero, and his father, again the son of Shimura Nana, was very much against this, because his mother was a hero, and in his mind she abandoned him and prioritized strangers over her own family. It was so bad, in fact, that he was punished whenever he was caught playing hero, something he loved to do like many other kids in this world, as we've seen through Deku's childhood. Throughout his childhood, his father would mistreat him, and while his mother was there to comfort him, Shigaraki's family never really stopped his father. They never made a full effort to help, and unfortunately, they would soon lose the chance. One day, Shigaraki's sister Hana would show him something hidden in their father's office, something he was never supposed to see, a photo of his father and Shimura Nana. Through this, he would learn there was a hero in his family. He of course had no idea just how important Shimura Nana was, but just the fact that there was a hero in his family was enough. When asked why she showed him this photo, Hana showed support for Shigaraki's hero dream, saying they could even become a brother-sister hero team in the future. Following that reveal and talking with his sister, Shigaraki was feeling great. Now knowing his family had a hero in it gave him hope for his own dream. Unfortunately though, this momentary joy would be cut short, beginning with a sudden shock to his body. Right after that, with just perfect timing, his father was now approaching him outside, angrily, asking Shigaraki if he had looked in his office. It was about the picture of Shimura Nana. The look on young Shigaraki's face was one of fear. He froze, unable to utter a word. Meanwhile, the rest of his family was there, including Hana, who was bawling her eyes out, and unfortunately putting all the blame on him. A couple seconds later, his father would raise a hand and then with force hit him. Shigaraki's mother screamed in an attempt to stop him, but it was too little, too late. His father stood over him now and explained that Shimura Nana was a monster that abandoned her child. Still unable to speak from all the shock, Shigaraki wanted to cry out for help. He wanted his family to do something instead of simply watching his father stand over him and dish out this abuse. Later that day, alone in his study, Shigaraki's father would read the final words his mother, Shimura Nana, left for him, something he probably hadn't read in a long time. The letter was essentially an apology for leaving him to go fight All for One, Granted, of course, he doesn't know who All For One is, but that is the bad man she was referring to in her letter, and she would also add that she understands if he comes to hate her. Soon after that, the rest of the adults in the family barged into the room, with his wife first saying that what he'd just done was too much. He was quick to admit he'd gone too far and asked how the kids were doing. Frustrated, his wife would ignore this question and continue saying that the family isn't going to play by his rules if he was going to get violent. And from that, and how big this scene has been overall, this was most likely the first time Shigaraki was hit by his father. But now, upon reading that letter and calming down, he could now see it. His own past was affecting his family, but this didn't matter now. It was too late. Shigaraki was still outside where he'd often play. This time though, he was sobbing and clinging to his dog for comfort. However, something was happening. That shock he had felt earlier was his quirk manifesting. Before he could even look and see what had happened, it was too late. He'd unknowingly caused his pet dog to decay. Shigaraki was now in total shock. Before he could grasp what had happened, his sister Hana stepped outside to apologize for earlier. Nervous, she said that she shouldn't have said those things to her father earlier. But it was then that Hana saw her brother sitting in blood next to what was their pet dog. She screamed and began running. Shigaraki was still in shock, itching all over, and couldn't speak. He had a million thoughts rushing to his head. He wanted to tell her not to go. He grabbed her and she too crumbled. He thought it was a villain's doing and broke down. Years later, while reflecting, Shigaraki realizes that maybe he knew what was happening. He knew there was no villain. He knew what he was doing. More of his family would come outside, his grandparents and mother, and they too would be decayed. Following that, his father would come outside and see the horrible sight. The two would get into a little bit of a conflict, but then with a look of pleasure, Shigaraki would decay his father also. After these events, drowning in guilt and unsure of what to do next, Shigaraki ran away from home, or at least what remained of it after all that destruction. He looked dirty as he walked around the streets, and he couldn't speak. He was looking for someone to save him, but no one would. At least not until All For One came and was the one to extend a hand. He's a smart man, but also deceptive, so his words can't be taken as fact. However, in explaining Shigaraki's situation, he said that he has an impulse to destroy that can't be controlled. After a couple incidents and some mentoring from All For One, Tenko had been reborn. As a gift, All For One would give him the hands of the two men he killed, and a couple other bonus hands to keep his memories close. With this came the birth of Tomura Shigaraki. Tomura meaning to mourn, because he'd now been reborn as one who beckons acts of mourning into this world, and as for Shigaraki, that is All For One's family name. For years, All For One would go on to nurture Shigaraki, making him the man we know now, and making sure to remind Shigaraki to never let go of those emotions he felt at such a young age. Much later in his life, Shigaraki would go on to create the League of Villains, consisting of the members we will now get into.
Do you not like it?
Tomura Shigaraki.
Tomura Shigaraki.
Y arriba yo, mi papá.
Wait a damn minute.